And all right. And we are live. This is Silence is Compliance on Voluntary Virtues Network. Today's date is June 10th, 2014, and we are broadcasting from my home base, as usual, Pittston, Pennsylvania. And wow, we have so much to talk about in such a little amount of time. And I didn't even have to do any show prep for, not that I didn't have to, I just knew that there's just so much to talk about that, I mean, for how quick the show is going to go by, it was pretty much useless to even try to ignore the elephant in the room, which is apparently, obviously, these shootings that are going on. Now, I was pretty quick to jump out there yesterday and call bullshit on this Las Vegas shooter. I mean, it took me a couple hours. One of the big things with me was I was hearing how this guy is a racist. And Jeff, are you able to press record on that? I forgot. How this shooter, it's right in the back, the button right there. This shooter, this Jared Miller, okay? Now, how he's a racist, he's white supremacist, and if you study false flags, if you study the formula that is used with so many of these incidences, from the underwear bombing, or the quote-unquote underwear bomber, to all these, so many, and then a lot of the bigger false flags. And one of my buddies the other day was saying how he's going to make a chart, like a literal chart, showing the different kinds of false flags, because there's a narrative to, and it seems like, this is how I want to say, yeah, that we are ahead of the curve, but this is how it should seem so obvious to so many people, is when you know the playbook and you're able to say, listen, this is what's going to happen, and it happens, well, it kind of helps your credibility out a little bit. And this is not a good thing. This is because I've been saying forever, I don't want to be right about any of this. I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather, be pegged as this crazy conspiracy theorist, and somebody prove me wrong about everything, and I'll go, back about my life. I'll go be a farmer or something. And I just had recent invitations to move to, far away, live basically for free, and I'm considering that. I mean, I'm doing everything I can to try to raise awareness, but the level that it seems like we have been thrown into is, and I just got done telling my partner this. It seems like I've been saying this a lot over the years that I've never seen anything like this before, and it's true, I haven't. But every time I say that, I completely mean it, and it is completely true. Now, as soon as I started hearing this story, obviously I questioned it. Um, you know, so people walked into no. First of all, it was an obvious wet dream for whether you want to say, I know it's you could say liberals, but that's kind of in where I'm coming from. That's thinking more on a smaller level, if you understand multinational globalism and what they're pushing for. But this is exactly, I mean, they couldn't have asked for anything better. So right there, obviously the red flags went up, because I don't believe in coincidences, especially for what I've been through, what I've seen, what I've witnessed. So I don't believe that things could have went down the way they went down. So I started to look into it, and I was surprised that his Facebook page, this Jared Miller, his Facebook page was still up. So, and I was on this, as soon as it happened, I was checking into this, and I'm scanning down, and I'm getting pictures, and I'm seeing things he posted, and I'm screen capping everything, because I was figuring usually they take the shooter or whoever the suspect is, they take their information down from the internet, almost immediately. But with this one, they didn't, and I found a couple things on there that didn't make sense. If you're a white supremacist, or if you're a Nazi, which just about everybody called this person a Nazi. Well, what kind of Nazi or white supremacist goes around and posts, almost immediately posts pictures of Harriet Tubman, and quoting her and praising her for what she did? Martin Luther King. He had pictures on his page of Martin Luther King and quoting Martin Luther King. Now, to me, right there, that kind of takes away from the, he's a racist and a white supremacist. Well, what white supremacist is going to be posting pictures of African American heroes? Okay, so that right there was something to me. I called the radio station last night with somebody, I get along with, but I just don't understand. No matter how much things fall in place, and no matter how right I am or other people are when they say, listen, this is a complete globalist takeover, and their goal is to destroy America, and they're going to do that. The war on terror has been designed specifically for Americans. I've been saying this right from the beginning, and this is the one thing about doing this. Well, there's lots of things, but this is one of the things that really is frustrating, is when you put something out years in advance, and you tell people, and then it finally gets to that point where it happens, and then of course you want other people to recognize it, but at the same time they kind of dismiss it. So I don't know if that's like part of a conditioning type deal, but I've been saying, the war on terror is for the American people. They are going to bring, and just like Jefferson said, wars used abroad will come home and used against, their own people's own country's own people. And this is what we're seeing here. We're seeing the DOD, Department of Defense, militarizing the police, and giving them LRADs and MRAPs and half tracks and full tracks and Bearcats and all kinds of literal military equipment. And like, what do you need a full track Bearcat for? In some small town America, it just makes absolutely no sense. And these vehicles, these MRAPs and these LRADs, they have turrets. They're made for 50 caliber machine guns. Now these aren't 50 caliber sniper rifles. No, these are Ma deuce and a halves. Where you're talking 90-pound weapons. Okay, 50 pound for the main gun, okay, and 40 pounds for the barrel. That is a heavy piece of machinery, okay? I know, I was a tanker. I dealt with these weapons. You could take a house down in seconds with one of these. Now, what on earth does small-town American police need? And if you look at this picture,
Pete Coltrane.
yeah, right. And if you look at the picture of these two police running in the Walmart parking lot, other than the one that has the word police written on his back, you cannot tell. They look like soldiers. Have you seen this picture?
Yeah.
They look like soldiers, fighting somewhere. But I mean, how? Look at this picture, and you have to just say, is this America? Because if you were to green screen this and put like a war scene, this would pass as Afghanistan or Iraq, okay? Those, I mean, at least up to this point, as if it made a difference, it didn't. I said the equipment's the same. The only difference was the police wore blue and the military wore green. What the fuck is this? Now they're wearing green too? So there is no difference, okay? There's absolutely no difference whatsoever. The police are completely militarized. Now, when I said that the war on terror is for the American people, I meant exactly what I said, okay? They had the military fighting in a foreign war for over a decade now. That gave them plenty of time to weed out any good generals that could have, blown the whistle, which some did. People that could have broke ranks under the threat of death, that would have broke ranks and maybe led battalions, or did, if it did come to a civil war, which at this point, it's not looking too good. If it did come to that, you would hope the military would be on our side. But they took a good 10 years. They made sure they trained all these soldiers in going door-to-door confiscation, okay, conditioning them to dehumanize pretty much anybody. The Patriot hit list that came out about 5 or 6 years ago. It was 40 people. A bunch of them are friends of mine. I know probably more than half of them on there, all right? What it was a list that was put out by Mark Potok of the Southern Poverty Law Center saying, oh, these are people that might be domestic terrorists. You have guys like Sheriff Richard Mack, ironically, who just was in a picture with this supposed shooter in Vegas. Founder of the Oath Keepers. Did you know that or no? Okay. Founder of the Oath Keepers, Stuart Rhodes. Founder of We Are Change, Luke Rutkowski. Let me think here. There were just so many. Gary Franchi was on there. There actually, I don't want to. Chuck Baldwin,
just think back.
Ron Paul.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, right there, Chuck Baldwin and Ron Paul, two presidential candidates, were in the top 40. Judge Andrew Napolitano. And they said, and I just watched the clip that came out over the last 24 hours. They said Mark Potok and the Southern Poverty Law Center said in 2009 you're going to see the rise of domestic terrorism. Now, up till this point, you haven't seen that, okay? And that's why I'm finding this so suspicious that this Jared, he put out videos, and in his videos he talked about the golden rule. He said if people just knew enough not to murder and steal, what a great place this would be. And I'm like, okay, well, where did he go wrong? And if that's the case, so I'm questioning all of this stuff, and I see a clip on, I believe it was CNN, and they said, oh man, I'm losing track. They said so many things. One, they said that the liberty this quote-unquote liberty movement is more dangerous than Al-Qaeda, okay? Today on local radio personality, the radio hack Steve Corbett was in all glory about this. Of course he put on his show, but he literally called me out, not by name. But he said, "Oh, we have our own local conspiracy theorists here, that like to consider themselves journalists." One in particular called out or challenged Bill Clinton to a debate, and he's like, "Yeah, can you believe that? Actually challenged Bill Clinton, one of the greatest political minds of our time, right?" And obviously that was me. And he's like, making an absolute fool out of himself. Well, geez, Steve, when I did that 4 or 5 years ago, most people who seen that said, "Wow, that was pretty impressive." Activism, speaking out, challenging, you know, a former president to a debate in a room of 5,000, brain dead zombies.
Flag waving supporters.
Yeah, flag waving supporters that
CIU members,
right.
all kinds of crazy.
Oh yeah, there was one lady who just kept yelling, "It's Bush's fault! It's Bush's fault!" Nobody says anything there. And then when I yell, "End the Fed," people start looking at me, and then finally he got mad and he looked at me. He's like, "I'll make you a deal. You let me finish speaking, and anybody who wants to stay and hear you speak, they can." And they all start clapping, And I'll tell you what, nothing disgusts me more than this patriotic nationalism that I see when, for example, when I was at CPAC 4 or 5 years ago, there was a guy who interrupted Rumsfeld's speech and called him a war criminal, and the whole crowd starts chanting USA, USA. Now, number one, okay, that takes a lot of balls for somebody to do any kind of activism, and everybody should respect that, no matter where you're coming from, okay? Now, he's not out killing people, shooting people, or hurting people. He had an act of activism. He spoke up on something he believed. Now, no matter where you stand on that, you should respect that and not just blindly chanting USA, USA, because USA is always right and never wrong, because they've never done anything as far as, killing women, innocent people, women, children, and all of that. But more importantly, because this show is going to fly by really quick, is what we're seeing here now is and we're seeing this in real time, what I've talked about for a very long time. The war on terror being turned against the American people. And, it's getting to the point where it is getting a little bit, and I've been saying this for years, because I don't get frightened by this, and I understand what I got myself into, and that's why I don't use surnames. I use my real name, and I put myself out there, and I speak out there, and let me make sure I preface this. I support nonviolent activism, okay? I support the non-aggression principle. I would never take up arms and go shoot innocent people for something like this. So if something happens and people say, "Oh my God, I can't believe Anthony would do something like that," I wouldn't, okay? The only time I would do something is in self-defense, and I have literal hundreds of videos where I preach this, but just to get that out there one more time, because it seems like they're about to really start making a move on the liberty movement or community, or people that
they've
question government.
They've been trying now for what, the past 8 years to pin something on the liberty movement, on the Tea Party. In the beginning, it was mostly aimed at the Tea Party, but that's kind of where a lot of people found out about the liberty movement in general. And the mainstream media has been pushing that now for quite a long time. Right. I mean, they had the old ladies on the National Mall with the tea bags hanging from their hats, saying that they were terrorists. And then you move on to like the shooters. You had
Jared Loughner.
What's his name from Colorado? I can't remember his name.
James Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes. You have all these shooters in between then that were that had a lot of leftists.
And right in the beginning,
they wanted to focus it all in. Oh, it's the Gadsden flag.
And the common thread with all of them, right from the beginning, the media was so quick to jump and it's somebody from the right. Yeah. And that's why with this, I question it so much, because there's so much. He was at the Bundy Ranch. Okay, now there's no conspiracy about that. He really was at the Bundy Ranch. I seen a video clip, and I'm like, out of all the people that were there, how does he get to be the one? Okay, that gets this like 20-30 second soundbite, and people could go find that very easily. And he said something to the nature of, I feel bad if the federal government decides to come in here and try to push us around. I hope it doesn't come to violence, but if that's the only language they speak, we'll learn it real quick. Something to that nature. And
I read that they were asked to leave.
Yeah,
They were asked to leave.
and you see, this is where I question so much about so many things. Yeah, yeah, of course it has. Probably under attack from every angle imaginable. That's like super virus right there. Suspicious. Wow. So anyway, yeah, talk about conspiracy theory. But seriously, I've had my show stopped a couple times in the past. But yeah, so I heard the mainstream mention this, that he was too radical for Cliven Bundy, and supposedly Cliven Bundy spoke out and said that he was asked to leave. Now, is that possible? Yes, that certainly is possible. But at the same time, there are certain things about the whole Bundy ranch that I question. I mean, if you look at and I certainly don't have time and don't want to get into this right now, but if you look at the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, Bundy being one of the names, and if you look at how far back his family goes, and you understand how powerful Harry Reid is, and this, it just happens to be in his state, and that they had some kind of deal worked out together in order for him to keep his ranch. So there's just some conspiracy theories already being dragged through the mud for questioning. But here's the scary part, okay? And when I said this war on terror is going to be used against the American people, this guy here, this hack Corbett, and I'm sure he's not the only one. Well, he's certainly not the only one, but he's somebody local. And 2 points I want to make on this. I want to make a point about reality as far as where the people really do stand, because I really think they're divided. Remind me to get right back to that. So with this Corbett, he's talking about how dangerous conspiracy theorists are, and people who subscribe to this ideology, that they're mentally. He literally called me mentally ill for that thing of activism that one of my first big things that I did in the activism community when I challenged Bill Clinton to a debate. He said I was mentally ill for daring to challenge one of the most brilliant political minds ever, is something the way he put it. I'll post it when I get a chance. But what they're doing is they're tying mental illness in with this. Now, I know the argument can be made and very successfully, if you walk into a place and shoot innocent people, that you're mentally challenged, or there's something that your pistons, you're right, your pistons aren't firing on all cylinders. I completely understand that. But when you get to this point where your blanket term, and putting a blanket, an umbrella term over everybody, and when you say conspiracy theory, what do you mean by that? Do you mean no more questioning? And I knew this was coming. When you ask somebody conspiracy theorist, now they'll there's always a I'm jumping right into their talking points. I'm thinking too quick here. But, when they talk, they'll say, no, it's good to have a healthy skepticism for your government. But, when people start talking about these false flags and 9/11, well, who's to determine what's good skepticism for your government? And when we have so much proof about 9/11, and when these guys can't answer the questions, and they say, oh, I want to talk to the experts. I tried to get you to talk to the experts, but they refused to talk to the experts. As far as 9/11, I would have had Richard Gage, the founder, architects, and engineers, call this guy. I did a show one time where I literally asked him 5 or 6 times before he even acknowledged. He just kept trying to push it off and ignore me and pretend he couldn't hear me. But so what they're doing is and this is what happened in Nazi Germany. This is an MO for a takeover. If you can convince a big majority of the people, enough to go along with it, that the people that are questioning things are mentally ill, or even, here's the point I was going to make, if you could convince people that the government has the power to say who's mentally ill and who isn't, and this is why this is really coming full circle with Obamacare and government doctors and all this stuff, all right, this is why it does seem like a complete takeover at this point, is once they have the power to declare you mentally incapable, they have the power to lock you up. All right, they could, as far as mental facilities. Are you kidding me? They'll start locking up so many people. They really will have to fire up, a couple hundred FEMA camps, or and FEMA camps don't exist. Just look at Katrina. That entire city was one giant FEMA camp. They denied Walmart, ironically Walmart, that wanted to donate free bread and food for the people that were trying to survive, and they got turned around at gunpoint. If people forget what happened at Katrina, not only were citizens disarmed, okay, for not doing anything other than trying to protect their home, soldiers literally shot, and I think they killed. I forget. You might want to look into that real quick to confirm it. I know they shot. I think they killed at least one or two people that tried escaping this FEMA ground. And I remember this propaganda too. They're saying, oh, there are so many people displaced that they're going to start, and they showed a map of the United States, and they're like, they're going to start working their way up, to the northern states. Now, number one, they made it sound like it was like a plague, okay? Like they're going to start working. They're people. Number one, they're people, okay? And what do you think they were going to do? You were that worried that you fenced them in, and you'd rather kill them, that they literally imprison them. So when people want to say there's no FEMA camps, okay, the government turned this entire fucking city into a FEMA camp, all right? So what we're seeing here now is them demonizing people who question things that should be questioned, okay? 9/11, the NDAA, the complete takeover of the government, and them, militarizing the police. And it seems that they are really on such fast track now. I mean, with APCs and MRAPs and LRADs. I think I already said that, and forgive me if I'm repeating myself here, but I have a couple shows, and I'm just overwhelmed with stories right now. And these stories are coming at us like you wouldn't believe. They're just so fast, and you can't even keep up. I haven't even talked about the supposed shooting that happened today at a school in Troutdale, Oregon. Supposedly a shooter went into a school. They said he's dead, and then original report said nobody was hurt except him. Then it was a girl was shot. Now they're saying I think a girl was killed. Is that the latest report?
That's the latest.
So, all right, because I think it would have been a little hard to sell that a shooter went into the school just to kill himself, and he wasn't. He didn't kill anybody. But in my opinion, from what I'm seeing, and yeah, I'm jumping right out there based with very little facts on this, just seeing the pattern and understanding Operation Gladio, I'm willing to bet that was just a straight up drill. I see now where they're selling bulletproof, my buddy told me about this, bulletproof blankets that they're trying to sell to parents, like at $1,000 a clip.
What?
Yeah, and they're gonna start training. He told me he sent it. I don't know if he did. Where they're gonna start training kids in school to like wrap themselves in like a bulletproof blanket
or something.
And let's see, but
that's
yeah, bulletproof. So yeah, so what we're seeing here is, a complete government takeover, and the ironic thing is they make fun of quote unquote conspiracy theorists and say, oh, you're so paranoid about the government, you're so paranoid they're gonna come after your guns or this or that, right? Well, they are. Like
they're doing it right now.
Yeah, like
Harry Reid just did it.
Literally today.
yeah, for real. I mean,
so
it's crazy.
Right, so they are, and it's not paranoia if it's really happening. It's not
even any conspiracy left,
right?
Because they're doing everything right out in the open. I mean, there's no hiding. There's no behind closed doors. There's no like shh, keep this on the low down.
Yeah.
They do it. They come right out on the mainstream media and say that this is exactly what they're doing. And
yeah, no, absolutely. And here, I think I found it. Let's see, I found. Oh my God!
I sent you that one for the bulletproof blankets.
Yeah, I just got it. Do you see this? The kids.
Yeah.
And actually, I think you could do a better job of if that's what the kids could still get shot. If you're gonna make a bulletproof blanket and sell it for $1,000 a clip, I think you could do a little bit better than this. Oh my God! And ladies and gentlemen, all you gotta do is type in bulletproof blankets, and you'll see the first picture you'll see that pops up. It's like the size of like 2 placemats or 3 placemats. Yeah, it's a pizza box, and like are they trying to create like a phalanx? Like in 300, like guarding each other, and but no, see, this is the sick and. Nothing against technology, because I'm all for technology, but this is the sick society that we're getting to the point where, my God, kids, and you know what? Let me finish my thought here. I mean, this is how scatterbrained I am tonight. That kids are gonna have to grow up in schools like this, where they have to be. So think about the generation that is being brought up right now. Like
they're being raised to be victims.
Well, that's one thing. And by the time, if there's still any kind of country left in another 10, 15 years, do you realize the kind of kids or people that they're going to be so anti-freedom, okay, that they actually will be able to say they're able to keep this government sustained for another 15 years, which I highly doubt. But if that is the case, okay, by that point, they're going to have so many kids indoctrinated. They will, if you want to say democratically, they will have enough people to put in government that will change all these laws, and they'll have the technology. They'll come for the guns, and they'll do it that way. I mean, because these kids are going to grow up. All they're going to think about is.
That's why majority rule is so dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I speak about that constantly. Hang on a second. Yeah, I'm doing my show like live, literally right now. So if you want to call the show, call. But no, it's my other show. But I gotta go. I'll call you back. Bye. He probably would have just kept calling, so best to let him know. Maybe he'll call the show. He's the one I was just telling you about, who sent me the story about the blankets. But you think back about the 50s when kids were trained to the duck and cover for the nuclear bomb, as if that was going to help. Now I know that technology is getting to the point that they certainly could come up with something better than this. I mean, my God, with the invisible suits they have now, they have
what's wrong?
Ghillie suits.
What is wrong with having an armed, a teacher?
You see, that was how we listen. That was the argument I made when if people are going to have a government, if they're going to try to have a society. Okay, I know I'm more on the fringe where I don't even believe in government education, but okay. I'm with you on this completely. When people said armed guards, and my solution, and I thought this was the best solution you could possibly come up with, okay? Take a teacher, all right? Obviously a volunteer, okay? Ask him, or put it out there. Say we're looking for 1 or 2 would probably be great. 2 teachers, and they're going to be concealed weapon. Let them conceal a weapon, absolutely. Okay? Pay for them to do training, okay, to train to do it.
I would rather have a big sign on the school that says, this school protected by concealed carry permit holders. Rather than
absolutely.
A sign that says this is a gun-free school zone.
Okay, but
my kid has a pizza box.
No, and I'm exactly, but I want to tell you the difference between when people were saying get more armed guards and this and that, and there's part of me that I was listening to that debate, but me being so anti-police state, I'm like, I don't want to fall for that. I don't want to fall for that trap. And my argument too, also with the guard, is if somebody really wanted to come in and do damage, they know the first target. Take out the guard, and then now you have more weapons and more ammunition. So
that's why the concealed carry permit is the most important.
Take 2 teachers, let them volunteer for the job, train them, okay. Let them pick their own weapon, pay for it. I know this for a fact that, like, if a teacher coaches a certain subject or something, like, they get paid a couple extra bucks. Pay them more money, like give them more money, for taking on this. So don't let the children know who the teacher is. Like, try to keep that on the down low, I would imagine. Conceal weapon, and I think that's the best case scenario, because nobody knows who the teacher is. You're not creating this indoctrination where the kids are growing up with police surrounding them. You know,
it's not going to be like prison. The bell,
right?
bell
Exactly.
rings, the doors,
Right.
The door,
Right.
locked shut,
I would much rather that than
well, it maintains the teachers having that ability maintains the element of surprise.
Right.
Nobody is going to walk into a situation where, you know,
see this.
They know somebody's armed,
see,
but
this,
not who.
This shows the and you see, I remember the debates, and somebody is, and this is where I come from with my arguments, and I say, listen, you can never solve everything. People are like, well, what if the teacher goes crazy and start? Listen, if the teacher wants to go crazy now, he could, you know, or she, whoever, could walk in with a gun and start shooting. People are like, if you give that, what if he's having a bad day or something? So there's always going to be counterpoints, no matter how ridiculous they are. There's always going to be counterpoints. But to me, I would say common sense, you know, a little common sense. And this to me is a big reason why I feel the way I feel and why I'm so disenfranchised and don't trust the government, is because these things are common sense. And, you know, for the fact that they can't do common sense things, like when they say common sense gun control, no, that's not common sense. That's, you know, totalitarian, authoritarian garbage. That's not common sense gun control. And I don't know, to me, yeah, that would be an answer right there. But I don't know, to get back, because we only got 10 minutes left already. But I mean, to get back to this situation here, they said the people who subscribe to this ideology are more dangerous than Al-Qaeda, okay? So when I said that they're going to turn the war on terror against the American people, I think it's becoming pretty apparent. All right, they already have this control grid in place, you know, like the TSA everywhere. They militarized the police, the laws. I've been hammering home the laws, the NDAA. If you are, ironically, if you are associated with Al Qaeda, or, you know, what was it? Affiliated forces, or give substantial support, undefined. All of these terms completely undefined, which means they could slap that label on you, you know, oh, he's affiliated with Al-Qaeda. That means if you have a friend of a friend of a friend on Facebook, okay, and they want to say that you're an associated force, well, guess what? No trial by jury, no habeas corpus, black bagged and indefinitely detained. They throw away the key, and you will never see a lawyer. And that's law, man. That's not a conspiracy. That is real. So when I was saying this for the last two and a half years, literally 2.5 years now, talking about the NDAA, well, all the laws are in place. So if they deem people, and if you think your Facebook posts and YouTube videos aren't retroactive, or if they say, hey, you know, people who subscribe to libertarianism, and they won't start at libertarianism, they'll start maybe anarchists, and they'll try to make it as fringe as possible, which, see, this is how it works. They started with a foreign enemy because that was a lot easier for Americans to accept. You know, they couldn't relate to, you know, brown people that, you know, wear different outfits than they wear. So the American people accepted that. Then slowly but surely, you could, if you look at the quote unquote terror that happened from, say, 2005 to present, you could see how it slowly transitioned from, you know, somebody Islamic fascism or jihad to this domestic terror. And I've been ringing the bell literally for years. I said, listen, they're turning this against the American people. I see it happening. And it's exactly what is happening, little by little. So yeah, they introduced it with Jared Loughner. You know, he looked absolutely crazy, okay? And they had the right for fighting with the left. James Holmes dressed up like the Batman. I'm not even, you know, getting into the whole Batman thing with this, but James Holmes had him looking all crazy. Okay, turned out he wasn't affiliated with the right at all, and obviously a million questions to go with that. But now it's like they're going full out war on anybody who is anti-government. My God, you should be anti-government. You should at least question, what the government. So, and you see what they're doing with these words too. Like when people hear the words patriot, it's getting to the point where terrorist
automatically getting associated with that.
Terrorist, right? Somebody
it's
brought
a
up
slow brainwash.
Yeah, somebody brought up a great point today on one of my posts as far as active shooter. Okay, active shooter. Now, what else could the shooter be other than active, right? So what does that make the rest of us?
Non-active shooter.
Inactive shooters, So you can already see where this language is going. So we have an inactive shooter in his house, and it's this pre-crime that you're getting at. Now think of, these guys put a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. I wonder how many people went out today and took down their "Don't Tread on Me" flags, like they were, damn, I don't want my neighbors. And think about all the neighbors too that
looking out their window. Oh my God!
I
have one of those people next to me.
Exactly. He didn't talk to us too much, okay? But when he did, it was about this or it was about the anti-government. My God, that's me. Like I don't talk to my neighbors that much. I get along with them. Maybe because they're scared to death,
He came over and gave me an end of Fed flyer.
Yeah, right. And it really has gotten to this point where they really can. They have the means to very easily come into my house while I'm sleeping, chloroform me, take me somewhere. God, don't they could do whatever. They have the means to do whatever they want when you control the
legally. That's
and that's the other thing.
It is legal. This is legal.
Right.
This isn't like some fantasy land. This is real.
Yeah.
This is legal. It is legal for them to do this kind of stuff, and that's pretty crazy.
Oh man, and
that's terrifying.
Yeah, it should be, and for the fact that more people don't get this and don't see this for what it is, that's where when I called last night LA Toronto show, and I asked them straight up after getting a long rant and explaining. I'm like, listen, I've been exposing this stuff for years, and I said, all right, not just me, but so many other people, and I said, from voting, that your vote does not count on a national level. I said, it's fact, it's now proven. We know that it doesn't matter if the delegates even show up. I said, the militarization of the police. I said, you admit all this stuff when I call on an individual basis and say, listen, things are getting out of hand. I said, licenses, registrations, permits. I said, there is nothing you can do without going to the government, asking, begging permission only after you pay them money, your extortion fees. I said, you are 8 times more likely to die in a police encounter than a terrorist encounter, quote unquote terrorist. So I said, at what point? I said, everything is been made law now, where if you do anything, they could justify whatever they want. They could do anything to you and get away with it. Anything. So I said, at what point are you going to realize that the United States government has been hijacked by multinational globalists? And I asked him, and he didn't answer the first time, and I said, can you tell me what would it take for you to realize that this government has been conquered, and it has been conquered a long time ago, and they do not care about the interests of the American people, let alone the rest of the friggin' world? And he just said, I don't know. And I just don't get it. Like, I know a lot of these people, they're not dumb people. How do they not see what we are seeing? This is a complete fucking takeover of the entire world. I mean, that's what it is. America's the superpower. They're the ones that took down. Well, okay, as far as the towers, we don't exactly know. But America's the superpower that is going, country to country, conquering. That is not spreading democracy. That is a fucking empire. Okay, so I don't understand what it's going to, and this really shows you, this was what I wanted to get to before, and I don't even know if I'm going to have time to it, the people, okay? Like, there are so many people, like, I was surprised when Corbett started his show today, there were a lot of people that called up right out the gate and said, hey, I don't trust the government. People jumped right into 9/11, and I was like, wow, this is great, And then that's when it was like Corbett really went out of his way to try to get me involved or throw a shot out at me or shot at me.
Well, sure, because he wants to marginalize the
oh yeah, absolutely. He went way out of his way today. But it's so as much as I see so many people that are waking up to this, there are still a lot of people that don't get it, and I wish there was a way of finding out real numbers. Like Corbett was actually saying Alex Jones his name multiple times, and of course it wasn't in a good way. It was a derogatory sense, saying he's the conspiracy theorist guru, and anybody who listens to him, And listen, I'm in no cult of Alex Jones by any means. But yeah, I have to give the guy credit for being way ahead of the curve on many things. Bilderberg Group, the mainstream won't even mention the Bilderberg Group, but he makes sure he covers it every single year. 120, 150 at a world power elite meeting in secret, kind of a big deal. So yeah, when why should we trust the government? That is the question. With technology now, we have like a minute or two left. When people say, a good, healthy, a good, healthy skepticism of the government is good. Well, first of all, what does that mean? And if you see this older generation doesn't realize what we have at our fingertips, and that we get to see these live videos. They're not fake, they're not photoshopped. They're real videos of real confrontations. We see these senators and congressmen and constant lies, and we know that we're being lied to, and we understand false flags, and we understand history. So we obviously don't why would we go to pathological chronological liars for information? We know their agenda. They admit what they want to do. They want a one-world government. They want a one-world currency. They admit this. As much as you people want to say conspiracy theorists, I could back this up with so many different quotes of so many different people, elected officials, CEOs of the biggest companies. These people are outright admitting what they want. But, we're the conspiracy theorists for connecting the dots and saying, hey, this is exactly what they're doing. It's just unbelievable that more people don't see this. But I don't know. What do you say, brother? I mean, that was a quick 40 minutes.
Really, that really is it. And I think it's more like it's people are more apt to shut their eyes to a painful truth. I mean,
it's not
really
easy.
What about when the first time that you realized that
9/11 was an inside job?
Oh shit! Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like oh shit!
You're like, oh
you
my
really
God.
have to
You're
come to terms with the
well,
fact
yeah,
that
it's a mind fuck. It really is. Like it will send you for a loop. It took me like 3 months to get back to where I could even function. I couldn't work. I was so mentally just screwed up in the head from understanding this, and no, not enough to go out and kill people. Okay, I made it past that. Actually I went even further and into studying the non-aggression principle and understanding that doing something like that not only is wrong and immoral and all this stuff that we already know and take for granted, but that would be this is exactly what these people want. And that's why I believe that they have to manufacture this stuff because it's not real. People who subscribe to our ideology don't want to hurt other people. I mean, at very worst, it's going to be a worst case scenario type thing for self-defense. But we don't want to hurt anybody. We want to live free. We want to encourage others to live free, and we want to just live our lives in peace. That's it, and not intrude on anybody else. And if more people could understand that, then I think we'd be in a lot better place. But the people who are running the world certainly don't want that. They don't want an informed public. They don't want us free in any way, shape, or form. And that's why the American people are propagandized 24/7. But that's all I have for this one. You have anything in closing, brother?
No, just going to plug tomorrow's show.
Yeah, tomorrow. Stay tuned to my Facebook page. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I'll let you know for sure what's going on as soon as I can. Make sure you go to anthonyantonello.com, sign up for my email alerts, and go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, because I think I'm going to be putting a lot more videos out real soon. So Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Silence is Compliance. Make sure you stay tuned. Michael Shanklin is up next. Make sure you watch that. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place. So this is Anthony Antonello, Silence is Compliance, and we are out.